How's it going, everybody? Monday Morning Quarterback, episode 172. Hope you had a great weekend, and thank you for tuning in tonight. Please like and share this video so everybody can see it. The previous 171 are cataloged on our YouTube page, CSI Shocks. And tonight's topic is going to be 5 steps to properly reading a dirt track, and what I feel are the 5 most important things to think about and take note of at a dirt track. We covered this topic about 3 years ago, but it was from a very aerial view. We talked about pavement and dirt and a bunch of different things. Tonight we'll peel back a few more layers and go into depth a little bit more on that. But first, two things. We're going to cover a question that's pretty important from a couple weeks ago. So again, if you comment on this video, we will answer your question the following week. This one was from a video from 2 weeks ago, but the comment just happened last week. And then another thing is our open house during PRI week. So 2 weeks from now, Thursday, December 12th, we'll go on from 6 to 9 p.m. If you're in the Indianapolis area for PRI, please come on out, check it out. We'll have a bunch of good food and drinks here. We're back in a business park with a lot of racing businesses, so Sharp Advantage will take part. Spike Chassis, Composite Specialties are confirmed. They're all going to open their doors for that, and we may have another racing business or two that jumps in. So that'll be a good time to come back and see some things. And PRI can get really rushed. I always feel bad. I know people will come in to talk to me or have a question for me at the booth, and there might be 2 or 3 people in line to talk, and so sometimes that's difficult to pin me down there, but this is a great place to do it if you can't get me at PRI. And then also just see behind the scenes what we do here and what some of our neighbors do. So the question from episode 170, which thinking back a couple weeks, that was the episode where we talked about balance and balancing rebound, left rear and right rear, and how that worked. This particular person was like, well, why didn't you give any specific numbers? And the answer is really simple because without knowing the exact circumstances, I can't sit here and tell you, oh, you should have had 180 pounds of clamp on your left rear and your right rear should have been, 115 pounds of rebound at 3 inches per second. What I've tried to do across these 170-ish episodes is get your mind thinking the right direction. So you're thinking about all the things that you should consider when making chassis adjustments, and teaching you things that I've learned over the decades and people I've worked with have taught me and learned, and just share that knowledge. There's no magic shock numbers. Some people might be taken back by that. I'll repeat that. There are no magic shock numbers. We could take the 4 shocks off of the winner's car and put them on your car, and you might not be successful with them for a variety of reasons. You're not going to drive the car identical to him. That's impossible. And every other facet of your setup, more than likely, is not identical to that other car. So it's really important to learn to tune the shocks and your chassis setup in general to what works best for your situation, your driving style, how the rest of your setup is, where you prefer to run on the racetrack. There's a ton of things that go into that, and that's one of the reasons, frankly, why crew chief driver continuity pays such large dividends in this sport, because they know what each other like, and that's really hard to build that in a short amount of time. So that's the reason I didn't give specific numbers. I'm not trying to hide any secrets. Anytime anybody comes up to me at a racetrack, even if I'm racing there with my son, I'll open Pit Logic, show them exactly what I have, help them as much as I can. One, I want to see our customers be successful, but 2, I know there's no magic. You have to tune it to what's right for you. And at the end of the day, the guy holding the steering wheel has to do his job, and that's vital in this business. So that's that one. All right. 5 steps to properly reading a dirt track. I thought about this a lot this morning as I was preparing for this, and I wanted to narrow it down to the 5 things that I feel are most important when you show up at a dirt track. So the first thing I would do, and what I feel is the most important, is identifying what type of dirt it is. There's tons of different types of dirt, and depending on what part of the country you're in, that can really vary. Here, we have quite a wide variety of dirt in Indiana, like what the dirt you'll see at Kokomo versus the dirt you see at Bloomington is totally different. It's different color, different clay content. Kokomo at its slickest state is not nearly as slick as Bloomington when it gets shined off, right? So identifying the type of dirt, and if you've never been there, trying to compare it to a place you have been and you have notes. So that's number 1. Number 2 is how much moisture is in the racetrack. Probably the best way is just the old screwdriver test, right? Take your screwdriver, stick it down on the racetrack. How far does it go? How far down is the moisture in this track? Because if you weren't there all day and you didn't see how they prepped it on race day and even maybe the few days previous, it's really hard to look at it and tell how much water's in it. Now, sometimes it's easy. If you get there and there's a little bit of a breeze and you're already seeing dry spots around the track, that's never a good sign. But trying to determine exactly how much moisture is in that track, certainly if it's a place you go to several times a year, because that'll give you a good indication of what my next thing is step 3, determining how long you think that moisture is going to stay in the track. Again, this is a guess. Anytime you make a setup change on your race car, you're trying to guess how much moisture is in the racetrack. You're trying to determine whether the race is going to be won on the bottom or the top. Those are all guesses. But the more educated of a guess we can make, the more successful we're going to be. So there's several things that play into determining how long that moisture is going to last. 1, Mother Nature. Is it hot out? Is it windy? How long is the sun going to be out, right? If we're hot lapping at 7 o'clock, is the sun going down at 7:30? Is it going down at 10 o'clock? Those things need to be considered. Another big one is how many cars are there, right? Are you at a place that runs 6 or 7 support divisions? Do those support divisions really pull the moisture out of the track? If it's pony stocks and factory stocks, sometimes those narrow tire classes will actually dig the track up and bring some moisture back to the surface. If you're there to race a micro and there's 410 wing sprint cars, you can bet that they're going to suck the moisture out of the racetrack. So identifying what's racing that night, how many cars are going to hit the track before you even hit the track and throughout the night, those things are going to determine how long the moisture will stay. Number 4 is how much speed does the track have when hot laps start? So you might be the first class, you might be the 4th or 5th. With today's technology and everything you have, everybody's got a phone in their pocket, right? Pull up My Race Pass, Race Monitor, one of those apps. You can easily go back and look at lap times from the previous weeks, and you should have those noted in your phone. So if last week your class was hot lapping at 10.8s and this week it's 11.6s, something to think about. Track's already slower. Is it because it's overwatered or is it because it's underwatered? But having a comparison of where those lap times are to start the night, because that's what you're going to base your changes on throughout the night. If you're hot lapping at 1 speed and by feature time the track slowed down 2 seconds, really helps you with a actual data point on how much the track's changed. What do I need to change my air pressure, wing angle, potentially a gear change because the track slowed down so much? Those are all things, and anymore with those apps that we have at our fingertips, it's really easy to identify. You don't have to walk up there with a stopwatch and time every race like you would have 10 years ago. And the 5th thing that I'm really concerned with throughout the night is, do they prep the track at all? And if they do, what type of equipment do they have? And how frequently are they going to prep it? So if I've never been there before, I'm going to make buddies with a local guy and be like, hey, do they usually water this thing after heat races? If they do, how long of a break do they take? What's normal? Typically, these tracks are on a routine, right? Especially if it's a track that runs every week. If it's a one-off race that they only race there once a year, your guess might be as good as the next guy. But most of these places are going to race somewhat of a regular schedule and have somewhat of a routine. There's places you go to and they don't really have equipment to grade the track. They're going to go out there with, you know, a little rake implement behind a tractor and scratch the surface and miss some water, and it might keep it from taking rubber and whatnot, but it's not going to add a high level of moisture back to the track and really change it. It's going to go away quickly. So what type of equipment do they have? And then after they prep the track, what are the lap times in that next race, and how did they compare to earlier in the night, and how quick do they go away? So if you're not the first feature and they prep it before the features and the four bangers get out there, what were the four bangers running in the heat race lap time wise? What's the leader who's out in open traffic? What's he running now? And how much does that slow down before he catches traffic? Right? That's going to give you a good indicator of how quick the track's going away and what's going to be there when you go out come feature time. So all of those things are going to be very, very important, because you have to base your setup off of how much grip's in the racetrack. And depending on what type of dirt it is, depending on how much moisture is in the track, how long that moisture is going to last, how much speed is in the racetrack, and if they'll prep it or not throughout the night are all going to be vitally important to what changes you make throughout the night. And the guy who makes the right changes typically is standing on the front stretch at the end of the night. So hope you guys have a great week. Hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. We're closed Thursday and Friday this week, but we'll be back on Monday with another great topic. Again, please share this video, add some comments. We love to answer your questions, and thank you for tuning in.